this come. All right. Good morning, y'all. Thanks for coming to the office hours. I know that this is normally a drop in and out type of call, but today we have Gozel here with us, who is a staff member at Keep America Beautiful. She's the Senior Manager of Research and Evaluation. Gozel, thank you so much for being here today with us.
Thank you for having me.
Anytime. So we're going to give our time to you today, Gozel. I'm going to turn off my camera because I know that you're going to share your screen. Today, you're going to be sharing with us the results from the survey from our national conference. Before you present, could you give us a little bit of information about the data you collected, just to give everyone kind of a general overview?
Yes, sure. We ran a survey that was administered on the last day of the 2024 national conference that took place in San Diego. We got a bit over like 170 responses. So everybody who attended the conference had the opportunity to take the survey. Mm-hmm. And the survey primarily focused on their experiences with the conference. So we were concerned to learn like a bit more about whether they learned, whether they increased their understanding of key concepts and topics, whether they were content and satisfied with key aspects of the conference. So really the survey was meant to, the purpose of the survey was for us as a team to better understand the impact of the conference and whether it achieved what it said it was going to achieve.
Awesome. Well, I know that the state leaders are pretty interested in this type of information. And when you presented this to us during one of our team meetings, I was like, oh, wow, this would be great to share with the state leaders, just the way that you had it all set up before. So I want to make sure you should be allowed to go ahead and share your screen.
Okay, let me see. Okay. Share screen. There it is. Share screen. Here we go.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to stop my video now, and I'm just listening in about this, and I'll just let you present. And then if individuals join during the meeting, they may put questions in the chat, and I may get you to pause at some point. So just a heads up there, but take it away. Thank you.
Okay, sure. Thank you. Thank you again. So these are the survey findings from the 2024 Keep America Beautiful National Conference that took place in San Diego. So I did cover this a little bit right now, but I wanted to talk more about it again. So what was my motivation for doing this? So I found that the national conference, which is one of KAB's, big programs, it presented an opportunity for us to evaluate the impact of one of our key events, determine whether the goals of the conference are being met and to what extent. So for instance, the national conference has a strong component of networking, right? It's a space, it's a platform where key stakeholders can get together and network with one another. It also has a strong component that encourages learning on key topics. So I wanted to see how well the goals of the conference are being met and to what extent. And, based on my assessment, from the findings, is there anything that we want to change and refine? So from a programmatic improvement perspective, based on what we find, are there any aspects of the conference that we should change in order to, improve on it? So I just wanted to quickly present the key findings, the key takeaways of the survey analysis. And they're like 6 key buckets here. So the first one is 91% of the survey participants that were analyzed, they rated the conference as either good or excellent. Nearly 90% of respondents were satisfied or very satisfied with speakers, the relevance of topics, and networking opportunities. So just this bucket alone, nearly 90%, it shows that the conference is doing very well on one of its key objectives. The third bucket, so we found evidence of improved understanding of key topics with strong learning effects for topics covering conference theme. So the theme of the conference emphasized beauty, greening. And so what we did find was that of the participants who attended sessions that covered topics, on the impact of green spaces, we found a strong learning effect. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit more as we go through this presentation. The next key finding was that of the affiliates who discussed how they will use what they learned in the conference, we found that 62% reported they will use information from the conference to guide and inform their own program. So the findings suggest that people take away, a lot from the conference. They use the information material that they learn to help inform their own projects and programs. The other two findings are kind of centered a little bit on specific types of people. So we found conference participants who, like if it's not their first time, so conference attorneys, those who have attended before, the conference returnees, they're more likely to attend the conference in order to satisfy President's Circle's training requirements. And finally, we found evidence that new attendees, so attendees who are attending the conference for the very first time, are more likely to attend in order to learn more about the KAB affiliate network. So just to give a little bit of background on the survey itself, so the broad topics that I asked in the survey, they kind of covered 5 big things. The first one, I wanted to understand kind of the attendance background of attendees. We wanted to know whether they're new to the conference or whether they're returning again. The second one, we wanted to learn more about why they are attending the conference, what motivated them to come. Third one, we asked them to rate overall the conference and to provide feedback, primarily written feedback in comment form. And then we asked questions related to satisfaction on key components such as speakers and topics and networking opportunities. And then we asked about whether there's been any whether they have increased their knowledge on key topics that were covered in the conference. And the intention of that was to assess whether there was changes in learning. So survey timeline. So this survey, it was administered and it was made available on the last day of the conference, which was on February 14th. We got around, I want to say like up to like 80 responses, which is pretty good. And then I spent some time sending out reminders in order to, get as many people to respond as possible. I closed out the survey on March 2nd, and we had a total of 178 responses. So I cleaned the data, and what I mean in regards to clean the data is that I really just wanted to get, I really wanted my sample to, cover the individuals that I wanted to cover for my analysis. So we had some vendors take the survey, and that was in my primary audience. So it's mostly like affiliates. And so I had to kind of get rid of, vendors and like kind of external speakers who took the survey, because I wasn't because I just wanted to focus on kind of our affiliate network. And after I cleaned out the data, I had 152 responses that I could analyze. So what methods did I use to analyze? So there was both a quantitative component and qualitative. So quantitative is really I'm trying to understand the numbers. I use some statistical techniques in order to in order to make sense of some of the numbers that are coming out. And then I had a qualitative section, which is really about so we asked a lot of what's called open-ended questions, where they can just write out their thoughts and comments. Like, for instance, we would ask them, please provide, some written feedback on the rating that you gave the conference. So I did two things here. I did what's called a sentiment analysis. So I tracked the number of responses that had like a positive tone to it, number of responses that had mixed. So maybe they said they enjoyed the networking opportunities of the conference, but they did not like X, Y, and Z. So that had a mixed sentiment. And then I also tracked the ones that had just purely negative. And then I did something called a thematic analysis, where in the written answers, I try to look for key themes. So for instance, if people are saying, if I have like 10 responses and I find out in every response, people are saying things like they enjoyed networking opportunities, then that is like the overriding theme, So it's really about extracting themes in order to generate insights. So in terms of my findings, they're divided into several parts, and I'll start with what I call part A. It's on the learning topics. So the conference provided sessions and opportunities for participants to learn in these 8 areas. So generative artificial intelligence, benefits of planting native species, and so forth. And in the survey, we asked participants whether we asked them, to what extent did your knowledge change after having attended this conference? And so we had 8 of them, 8 topics covered. And so this is our result. So overall, and I'll go over the graph and then the table on the right, but we found evidence of improved understanding across all topics, but topics related to the conference theme had a strong learning effect. So if you take the first, row, which is benefits of planting native species, the dark blue is the percentage of respondents who said that that they increased their learning by a very large extent. So we had a bit more, let's see, almost like 50% maybe. So here's like the bottom here says the percent of respondents. So pretty high. The light blue are the percentage of respondents who said that they increased their learning by a large extent. And then the gray is a moderate extent. So the percent who says they increase it by a moderate extent. And then the orange is slight extent. And then red is not good. It just means that it just means of the participants who attended, they did not improve their knowledge at all. So obviously we want to see more dark blue and light blue, because combined, it's the percentage of folks who said that this session they learned either they improved their learning by a very large or a large extent. So if you look at benefits of planting native species, almost like 80%, if you just draw a line here, or maybe 80%, around 80% said, 80% of participants who attended that session said that they learned that their knowledge improved by a very large extent or a large extent. And that's really good. And you can see here, like the first 3 here, you see these are kind of the top 3, and they correspond to the theme of the conference. So benefits of planting native species, social impacts of green spaces, and maintaining community green spaces. So they align well with the theme of the conference about beauty. And so what's interesting here is that these were the top 3 in which participants who attended said that they learned a lot. And then they kind of go down in order of learning a bit. So if you look at, for instance, generative artificial intelligence, you see that it had the most out of all of these. It had a higher proportion of respondents who said they did not learn anything at all. And then so on the right, I did something that's called a relative importance analysis. And basically what it does, it's a formula that tells me which one of these were the most important in terms of improving knowledge. So it pretty much corresponds to what you see on the left, but there's a number attached to it. So anything so it ranges from 0 to 1. The closer it is to 1, that means it's very, very important. If it's between 0.8 and 1, it means it's very important. If it's between like 0.6 and 0.7, it means that 0.6 and 0.8, it means it's kind of medium to high importance. So of course, the key topics, the sessions that cover the topics of the conference theme, of course, scored the highest. So benefits of planting native species came in number 1 with a ranking of 0.83, followed by social impacts. But what's interesting is that all of these topics scored higher than 0.6, and 0.6 is the threshold for a topic that has medium to high impact. So overall, this is good. If we were seeing something that was like 0.5 or 0.4 or 0.3, it means that, oh, it didn't really do anything to move people in terms of increasing knowledge. Does anybody have any questions about this?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Shannon, do you want to ask your question?
I see I'm sorry, I just opened the chat to
That's
see.
okay. It's a small group, so we can keep this informal. So I wasn't
Okay.
at conference, but I had a staff person present during one of the breakouts, and it was the education breakout. And I just want to make sure that I understand that. Was that breakout the educational initiatives for improving sustainability, or is that something separate?
That's a good question. So some of these, for instance, so I also did not attend this the conference. So I was kind of using just the agenda in order to make my survey questions. So that is a good question, because so these are primarily topics that are covered. It's possible that only one of these, so let's say benefits of planting native species, was only covered in one session, but it's also possible that there's 2 topics here, such as best practices in recycling and best practices in addressing litter in areas with unhoused people, that was discussed in multiple sessions.
Right. Okay.
So it's not really the sessions, it's just the topics, because I can't.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, well, I'm hoping that we can drill down a little bit farther as you go. So, and I might have more questions later.
Okay,
thank you.
Cool. Okay. My next button's not working. There we go. Okay, so then we had survey items that wanted to learn a little bit more about how satisfied respondents were with 3 aspects of the conference. So one of them was the speakers. Second one was the relevance of topics covered. And the third one was opportunities for networking. And I did a similar exercise as the one that you saw before. And so again, dark blue and light blue is very good. So for the speakers, you can see that close to 90% of respondents to the survey are saying they were very satisfied or satisfied with the conference. And you can see just like across the board for all these topics, they're very close to 90%, if not a little bit over. So that's excellent, right? So we don't like to see like, any orange or red, or even, green, which is like a neutral, somebody who says they're either neither satisfied or unsatisfied. So because we're seeing a lot of dark blue and light blue, it just means that, participants on the ballot were overly, happy about these three components. Relative importance index, all three of them scored above a 0.8, which is very good. So it corresponds to what we see on the graph, in that these three aspects were held in very high importance to program participants. So we have more findings here. So these are findings from the open-ended questions where they're just writing responses, and I'm trying to extract themes. So this question is based on a question in the survey that asked about how will you use the information that you learn in the conference, right? So I analyzed each response to see is there any sort of emerging pattern and theme that I could take away from it. So there was 121 respondents who answered the questions. And what I found was that 75 out of 121 respondents, so that's 62%, plan to use the information learned in the conference to guide and inform their own program. So I found this to be a very powerful finding, because it means that the conference provides an opportunity for, project managers and people involved in projects and program to refine and inform their own programs. To a lesser extent, I found that respondents would use information they learn to share ideas with others. So kind of like a multiplier effect. So I'm just going to share, the information I learned with others. I wanted to put that there because, I think that's an important finding, even though about like 30 out of 121 respondents said that. I think that that's still, something of interest. And then to a much lesser extent, respondents said that they would use the information to kind of start collaborations and partnerships with others. Unlike findings from the prior slide, I did not find any major theme from respondents who answered the question about what would make the conference better. So I had 103 responses that I analyzed, and I couldn't find anything where it was like the vast majority or a strong, 50%, 40% said this. The best I could do is I found in 11 responses, 11 out of 103, it's still not a lot. 11 respondents, they wanted the conference to offer more interactive activities such as field trips. And then it kind of dwindles down. So we have about, what is this, like 6 respondents said they would like to have sessions based on region and type of affiliate, and then so forth. So unlike the prior slide, that there wasn't something that everybody was saying or a lot of people were saying. And then again, I could not find a major theme from responses to the question asking about what topic should be covered in a future conference. So we asked respondents, what would you like to see covered, topic wise in a future conference? 110 responses to analyze from, couldn't find anything that was dominant in terms of theme. Best I could do was find about 12 responses who in which the respondents wanted to learn more about funding and fundraising opportunities, followed by about 11 who wanted to learn more about best practices, and then kind of dwindles down. And then we have some more findings. This one I did speak about earlier, but I wanted to bring it up again. We had 91 respondents rated the conference as either excellent or good. So you can see the chart here. Really, nobody really said poor. A few said average, but overall, this is a good finding. I did some additional analysis, statistical analysis, where I wanted to see whether first-time attendees rated the conference differently than those who returned again. And I did not find any difference between their rating. I used a statistical test that almost found a difference, but the threshold that I used was a little bit more stringent. If I were to change it up a little bit, make it less stringent, then I would have found evidence that those who return again to the conference, so returnees, they're more likely to be a little bit more critical, right? So they're more likely to say that the conference was average than those who returned the first time. But this is analysis that I think would be worth doing again. 58% of respondents who provided feedback on their rating gave responses that had a positive sentiment. So, so here we see obviously 91 respondents rated the conference as either good or excellent, but then we asked these respondents to talk a little bit more about the rating. So the takeaway here is that, just because you rate a conference as good or excellent, we have respondents are also in their comments that they will provide information that doesn't always have like positive sentiment. So they may say something like, the conference was great, but I wish this. So I think we could take out or learn a lot on how to improve things, even if a rater gave the conference overall as an excellent. So there were many cases where respondents who rated the conference as either excellent or good had suggestions for improvement. So out of the 106 responses, open-ended responses, 58% had a positive sentiment. About 30% had mixed, and then 20% was strictly negative. We also learned from the survey analysis that networking, learning, and seeking inspiration are popular reasons for attending the conference. So we asked respondents in the survey, what are your motivations for attending it? They could check all that apply. So they could check multiple ones. So most check networking with KAB affiliates, followed by learning from peers and then gaining more subject matter expertise. And so, the motivations make sense because, the key objectives of the conference is to, promote networking and it also has a strong learning component. So this was really good to see. And again, I did some additional statistical analysis just to see whether there was differences in the reason for attending the conference based on whether you were a first-time attendee or a returnee. And I found that returnees are more likely to attend to fulfill President Circle's training requirements. So this was done with the statistical test, which found that there was a difference between these two groups of people. I also found that new attendees are more likely to attend to learn more about the KAB network. I did not find any significant connection between the attendance history and the remaining motivation reasons. So for instance, I theorized at first that perhaps first-time attendees are more likely to attend to gain inspiration for their work than, attorneys. So that was kind of like my theoretical expectation. I didn't find evidence for it. And then I checked against each other motivation reason, and I only found 2 of them in which I found different reasons for attending. That the statistical test said there actually is a difference, and it's not just like due to chance or a fluke in the data. And so my recommendations going forward. So I would like to, if there was another round of this, to maybe incorporate a few more carefully selected background questions. So maybe something about, the size of the affiliate or size of population served to get a more nuanced understanding of motivations for attending the conference and whether there's differences in opinion based on the size of the affiliate. I think also, you know, another recommendation I had was there are some things that it may be worth tracking over time, and it doesn't have to be from it doesn't always have to be from a national conference survey, but maybe look into a little bit more tracking sentiments and satisfaction over time. So building up like a data set that tracks satisfaction with key events over time. So you know, if you know, for another national conference survey, you know, I think it'd be great to ask about satisfaction with the conference, and then keep on asking that, and then we could see over time how has satisfaction with the national conference changed. Do we see an improvement? And again, it doesn't have to be just for the national conference. It could be with other events and programs of KAB. And then the last thing is, this is easier said than done, but increasing the response rate. So the overall response rate for the program was a little bit over 50%. That's not bad, especially in the world of giving out surveys and, you know, based on the actual numbers that actually, you know, that we see, like kind of industry standard. It's not bad, but you know, half of the respondents, you know, half of participants we have not heard from. What if it was the half that was, you know, maybe a little bit more critical, right? So the question is, are these findings representative of everybody who attended the conference? So, but this concern is just a big thing in the world of survey research, is that findings may be biased if like those participants who are not participating in the survey are different from the ones that are. So this is a common concern, but the key is just to see if we can increase that response rate, to see if the analysis changes. And then that is all I have for the analysis. And if there's any other questions, please share and I'll be happy to answer. It looks like.
Yeah, we did have it in the chat.
Okay.
Yeah, there was just a couple things, but it's on the chat. We're planning our summit well, there's two things I was hoping to get. One was specific feedback regarding a particular session, as I had a staff person there. And she's young and fabulous and growing, and I was hoping to get some specific feedback for her session to include in, you know, just some feedback for her to continue her development. So I'd like some specific feedback. Doesn't sound like you have that. Maybe somebody else does. The other thing is, we're planning for our summit for the fall, and I was just hoping I could get the slides just so I can use them, put them in the FAO, and so I can look at how you analyzed and you know, what you got out of yours, and kind of keep it mindful as we build our agenda and the experience for our guests.
Yeah, definitely. I would love to. I will go ahead and share my slides with you guys. I mean, I could just send it over to Mallory and she can make it publicly available if that works.
Yeah, it's just easier than actually, I don't want to, while the video presentation was lovely, slides are easier.
Yeah, definitely.
Sure.
I will
Thank
definitely share that slides with you guys.
Thank you.
We'll put a PDF of the slides that Gosel shared in the recording. That way they're together.
Yeah.
Hopefully I can have that up today.
Okay. Yeah. Well, thank you. And then if you can, I don't know, did you guys capture any feedback for specific sessions, or was everything general?
Everything was general, but in some of the comments, I'm pretty sure that respondents talk specifically about certain things. So one thing that came out strongly is there was a lot of comments regarding the keynote speakers.
Yeah.
So they love that, and some of them, like, you know, again, like I could tell like whether they're talking specifically about a session but sometimes it's unclear whether they're just talking like overall. But if anything, it comes out in the comments and not in the questions where it asks you to like check things or like rate things.
Yeah, no, I understand. Okay, well, I can just use then I'll reference the agenda. I'm sure I have it somewhere and see how many education sessions there were. And if that's all I can use, I mean, that's good. That's good feedback. I
I
just
don't
was
think
looking
it
for
is
some
though,
specific.
Shannon, because
Pardon me?
I don't think that that is all, because in the app, people were able to like put questions in and get an attendee report. So I've emailed April and I've copied y'all on it. So we can
Okay,
see what we can get about that feedback. We just have to
Okay.
wait to hear from April. April.
Perfect. I appreciate it. You know, we're always looking to help develop our team.
Yeah.
And this was a really great opportunity for her. So anything we can get to
Yeah.
continue her development will be valuable. So thanks for putting this together.
Also did a
Yeah,
great
of course. Thank
It, it,
you.
was- it was nice to see that the survey feedback matched with the theme of our conference. Like, you know what I mean? Like we weren't totally off base. So it was really awesome and exciting to see and to see how everyone was happy about everything.
Yeah, I heard it was just an outstanding conference. So kudos to everyone that, you know, I know how much work goes into those. So good job.
Yeah, so in the survey, I think everybody said that they would that they've learned something that
Yeah.
they could use in their like in their everyday work. So there was no like variation. It wasn't like, oh, 10% said no. Everybody said yes,
Mhm.
right? So that's like very important, you know, to know.
Yeah, it's good. All right. Well, hey, well, thank you. And Mallory, thanks for the follow-up on Kylie's session. I really do appreciate it.
Sure, anytime. Do y'all have any other questions about things that y'all need? Okay.
I'm good.
All right. Well, we'll see y'all next week.
Yeah. Bye.
Okay.
Thanks.
Bye, y'all.